Hello, Bronco fans and football fans everywhere. Welcome to Broncos Breakdown on the MHRT Network. This is a show that is everything Broncos and sports topics related. I am your host, Bronco Bill. All right, guys, I got a couple of just some short things on the actual Denver Broncos information. It's a slow week regarding the Broncos information, but I do have a couple of topics, and then I have a an Avalanche update with a special guest once again. So let's get right into it, and here it is. We're going to start out with the mandatory OTAs. Now, the Broncos are beginning their 3-day mandatory OTAs this week. This is where it all comes together. Now, we know that Russell Wilson has been working out with his wide receivers. They've had not mandatory, but they've had voluntary OTAs. And the team is coming together. They're wanting to change the past. They're wanting to change yesteryear, so to speak, or the last 5 years. So they've been working hard. But now that it's mandatory, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how things come together. Are they going to be putting in certain plays, or are they going to be doing certain schemes? I would imagine. Absolutely they are. But it's going to be a fun time. I mean, we're in the middle of June. We only have until August, guys. We only have about 2 months before preseason. And by the way, every preseason game is going to be televised on the NFL Network on those dates that I gave you. That is great news, guys. That's great news. It's going to be August 13th. It's going to be televised 6 p.m. At home. It's going to be, I don't have those notes in front of me, but it's going to be on the 13th, 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then on the 20th, it's going to be on the road 10 a.m. Pacific time. And that one is against the Buffalo Bills. And then the last one is at home against the Vikings, the 27th of August. And that is 6 p.m. Pacific time again. So, the first one, I'm sorry, the 13th is at home against the Dallas Cowboys. So all three of those games are going to be televised on NFL Network live. So that's great news. That's great news for us to see. But it all begins this week with organized team activities, mandatory. So I can't wait to see the development that the Denver Broncos are going to make, specifically as it pertains to new plays, new schemes, because everything is new. And speaking of everything new, let's go to the Broncos logo. Now that the Broncos have a new owner, people are wondering if they will change the logo back to the D. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. And the main reason why I don't like it is the powder blue that reminds me so much of the Chargers. I don't like it. I like the darker color. As you can tell, the stripes up here on the ceiling, the darker blue, the shirt. I like that look. It looks rich. It looks, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but if I have to, I guess I'll say aggressive. But it looks better. To me, it looks better, especially when they wear their all blues uniforms, jersey and pants. That to me is classic. I love it. I love the horse design. I love the logo. I love everything about the new jerseys, the logo, the orange stripe down the side of the pants. I love that. I don't want them to go back to the D. Now, some people have suggested that you take the old D, the old style logo, with the new horse head in the middle. I don't like that either. I don't like the combination. I'm sorry, guys. I know a lot of you out there probably do. And you have every right to like it. That's your choice. I personally don't. And I can go back to the 5 Super Bowls that the Broncos were in with the old logo, and they didn't win. I know it sounds superstitious, but hey, I'm all in favor. If it's not broken, don't fix it and don't change it. We won Super Bowl 32 and 33 with the logo. We won Super Bowl 50 with the new logo. So I'm just saying, guys, that's just my opinion. Just my opinion. If they do go back to the old D and they maybe modify it, maybe make it more modern, Of course, I'll still be a Bronco fan. That's obvious. That's not going to change. But I'm not going to be in favor. It's going to have to, put it this way, it's going to have to grow on me. That's the easiest way I could say it. It's going to have to grow on me. Hopefully it does. But either case, it doesn't matter if they're wearing the old D or some variation of the old and new, or change uniforms, whatever. I know it's a money-making investment to come out with new uniforms, new logos. I get it. Hopefully, it will look classy. Hopefully, it will look aggressive, and hopefully, it will fit in with the new coaching staff, the new players, the new owners, and hopefully a new stadium. Speaking of a new stadium, let's go to Melody Hobson. Now, Melody Hobson is married to George Lucas. A lot of people know that. Some people don't. Some are wondering if the new stadium will have some kind of a Star Wars look and feel. I don't know. I've seen some text message come across. I've seen some illustrations where the stadium is going to look like a Star Wars StarCraft type of thing. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have any type of a look or a feel of a Star Wars type. But Melody is not the primary owner. That is Rob Walton. So if anything, I'm assuming it's going to have. Well, I really don't want to go down that road, but it could have a Walmart type of look. That I'm not too thrilled with. I wouldn't want that. Star Wars one, that might be interesting. Have kind of I don't know, some type of a spaceship or something of a design of a stadium. I'm not sure. It's the Denver Broncos. It's not the Denver Star Wars. So I don't know. Would it be, obviously it'd be different. That's a fact. You look at SoFi Stadium and the way the top is kind of shaped like this and then comes down to a point. That's different. So maybe something along those lines. I'm not sure. Some people are wondering. It's interesting to wonder. I mean, we have basically a Walmart owned Bronco team with a Star Wars Melody, like I said, Melody Hobson married to George Lucas. So yes, I mean, there's a lot of variations. There's a lot of possibilities. Not sure if it's, if the league would approve it. I don't know, but it's interesting to think of the It's interesting to think of the possibilities of what a new stadium may look like. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. Interesting. Saw that comments that people were throwing out there. So I thought I'd bring that in. Now we're going to go to, you got it, guys. Nope, not the Avalanche update yet. The jackass of the week. Okay, this week's jackass of the week goes to former Bronco coach Jack Del Rio. The Washington Commanders have fired defensive coordinator Jack Del Rio over his comments that the January 6th insurrection on the U.S. Capitol was the same as a protest following the death of George Floyd. What? Jack, come on, man. You were kidding, right? Well, even if you were kidding or not, it cost you your job and a $100,000 fine. Why? Because the protest after the death of George Floyd was a peaceful protest. Yes, some things got out of hand. Some things were, buildings were damaged. Businesses were looted. I get that. I know. I kind of see where he was coming from. You can't do that. It's not the same. It's not the same. Yes, like I said, businesses were targeted. Some businesses were targeted. They were looted. They were raided, whatever. I get that. But that's not the same as the riots and the insurrection on the Capitol building following leading right up to the election, or actually following the election. I'm sorry, following the election. You can't do that on a U.S. Capitol. You can't try and overthrow. They were climbing up walls. They were trying to break in to the inside of the Capitol buildings, and they did make it inside. And they were yelling and calling for people's names, for heads to roll. There were people sitting in chairs that were that are with the belong to the Senate and the House of Representatives. You can't do that. Yes, it is the quote people's house, but not literally. You can't literally just go in there anytime you want. And yes, it was totally different. Totally different. Yes, the protest after the George Floyd murder was wrong in some ways, but it does not even compare, not even close to what happened on January 6th. Now, I'm not going to get political on this. I'm not taking sides. I'm just stating facts. And Jack Del Rio, you have to know what you can and cannot say. And you have to watch what you're saying. You can think all you want. Don't say it publicly. Or even where, you have an open mic or something. You can't do that. So, Jack, I know you apologized. That's all well and good, but that's after the fact. So I'm stating it, and I'm stating it clearly. You cannot compare the two. They are not the same. Absolutely not the same. All right. Now we're going to go to, you got it, the Avalanche update. This is the Colorado Avalanche update, and I have to tell you guys, this guy sitting right here, Jeremy, welcome him to the brand new person and host of MHRT Network. Jeremy, I am so glad you're part of this network. Welcome. So glad to have you.
Thanks. It's an honor to be here. I'm really glad. MHRT is a great network, and excited to be a part of it. It's awesome.
Not only that, but Jeremy is also going to be broadcasting games. So, guys, you cannot miss his broadcast. He is amazing. He knows the players. He gives you detail. So even if you can't watch the game, you can see it with your mind's eye with this guy. Jeremy, we're going into the Stanley Cup Finals with the Colorado Avalanche. First time since 2001, but we have a juggernaut in back-to-back champions in the Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh my gosh. What do you see?
Well, as one Ric Flair used to say, to be the man, you got to beat the man. So the Colorado Avalanche will exactly have to do that with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's pretty straightforward here. I mean, obviously, the Lightning have been without Braden Point up to this point. No pun intended. Up to this point. But, John Cooper saying after they beat the Rangers that he doesn't expect him to play for game one, but he does expect Braden Point back at some point in the series. Now, on the flip side of that, the same could be potentially said for Nazem Kadri and Andrew Cogliano for the Avalanche. Jared Bednar having high hopes that maybe they will play. My guess is that maybe for Kadri on his side, they're probably trying to form some kind of a cast or, some kind of a cast device type to tape to his stick, so to speak, so that he can play. That's my thought. That's not official. That's not from the team. That's just pure speculation. Now, that would be my guess.
Is that legal?
I don't think it It's not. I mean, you have to have both your hands on the stick.
True.
It's. I mean, when guys choose to wave them with one hand or to do whatever, I mean, that's by their choice. My only concern with that is that if you do something like that, you're just putting a giant bullseye on Nazem Kadri for the other team, and they're gonna. I don't know. Maybe I don't know exactly what's going on with them as far as Andrew Cogliano and Nazem Kadri go, but I'm sure they're trying to find a way for them to play because I mean, Kadri, I can't remember. He broke his thumb. I think that's what it was, and so he had to have surgery on it. He's had surgery on it. Cogliano, they said it was similar, but they wouldn't be as descriptive with Cogliano as it was, but it was a similar type situation as it was with Kadri. So hopefully we do get those guys back. But hey, you know, the Colorado Avalanche have won a Stanley Cup before without their second line center. True. And Peter Forsberg was missing in 2001, and we did it. Granted, it was in 7 games, and it was a very close series, but none of the fact this has happened to the Colorado Avalanche before.
And then we have Burakovsky, who in the last series, in Game 4, he came out and played. He didn't look all that well. Yeah. I mean, he did okay, but he wasn't Burakovsky as we know him. Hopefully the rest that he's gotten, along with Darcy Kemper, I just hope it plays well going into first game. But the thing that bothers me the most is days off.
Yeah. I mean, it is a concerning point. It has been, but like I said before, and I will continue to say it now, between rounds 1 and 2, the Avalanche had 8 days of rest. Between the Nashville and St. Louis series, we came out and we won Game 1 against St. Louis, and we kind of threw away an iffy one in Game 2. So it kind of affected and then the Avalanche had to take it obviously to game overtime in Game 1 to win it. But you know, and for the Lightning, it's had an effect for them between rounds 2 and 3. You know, they had I think it was almost 10 days off between beating the Florida Panthers and going into face the New York Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals, and we all know what happened with them. They went down 2 games to none in the series right away. So I don't know. I would say, given the fact that the amount of injuries that the Avalanche have had, I say it's going to do more good than not. I mean, could Tampa Bay potentially steal a game or 2 in Colorado? They could, but I think ultimately the Avalanche are extremely battle tested, and they'll get it back in the swing of things as time moves on.
Well, the thing with me concerning the days off is exactly what you said. Tampa Bay had those days off, and they were rusty in the first 2 games. If the Avalanche go down 2 games to none at home and then have to go on the road, that is an absolute catastrophic. I mean, I'm getting frustrated because I'm thinking ahead, but that would be catastrophic if we go down 2 games to none at home because we've had the rust of the days off. I'm not sure that Colorado is going to come out firing on all cylinders in the first game, and that scares me.
Well, they may not, but, you know, keep in mind, the Colorado Avalanche are undefeated on the road in the playoffs. They're 12-2 overall. The Lightning are 5-4 on the road in this entire playoffs. So they haven't had exactly great luck on the road as much as the Avalanche have had. History would like to tell you that, but also we all know that everything resets as you move from round to round to round. Every game's a different story. And, you know, it is a little bit daunting when you think about how far the Avalanche have to travel. You know, this whole entire playoffs, they really haven't had to really travel that far. I mean, obviously Nashville's a bit far from Denver, but it's not far as Tampa is. But
St. Louis, right next door.
St. Louis, Edmonton, a little bit close, you know, but at the same time, it seems like with the release of the schedule, it seems like the NHL is compensating for that. They're giving them 2 days in between games versus the one that we saw in the previous round. So, I mean, that could, you know, and there's always the altitude factor. You know, nobody likes to bring that up, but I mean, and it probably won't play a factor as much as game one. Speaking like hearing a lot of former NHL players that have played for the Avalanche and against the Avalanche in playoff series, as far as altitude sets in, it's they said it's always the second or third game that gets to you. You can get acclimated to it when you first get there, but when you get that second or third game, so which would be games 2 and games 5 if necessary. So that may play a role. It may not. I'm not entirely sure, but those are some things to just consider here. The Lightning haven't been really great on the road, and the Avalanche have been absolutely magnificent. They have the best record overall out of any team in the playoffs this year, 12-2. So, and to be honest, Tampa Bay really hasn't faced a team with the firepower offense like the Avalanche have. They faced an okay offensive team in the first round against Toronto. Toronto's a pretty talented offensive team, but nowhere near the talent level and the firepower that the Avalanche possess.
Okay, so Pavel Francouz held his own in the series against Edmonton. He had to, because we didn't have Darcy Kemper, and we dang sure didn't want to go with our third string. He held his own. Jared Bednar has said that he is going to go with who got him there. Well, to me, who got him there is Francouz. Does he go to Darcy Kemper, or does he stay with Francouz? I tend to lean stay with Francouz unless he gives it up.
Well, I think he's going to go with Darcy Kemper just because of the fact that he is the number one goalie, and you're number one and number two for a reason. And if your number one's healthy, you play your number one. I know the nice little catchphrase for this playoffs was you play the hot hand. You play the hot hand. Well, that hot hand started to wane a little bit for Pavel Francouz in the last game that we played against Edmonton. So I think he reached his full potential as to what he can bring. And you're going against a completely different caliber team with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They are definitely not anywhere close to being the Edmonton Oilers. Right. They are head and shoulders above the Edmonton Oilers. They are the back-to-back defending 2-time Stanley Cup champions. That's a little bit bigger of a monster when you think about it. Had it been New York, maybe we would be having a different conversation. But for that first game, Kemper's had 15 days of rest. So between the last time he went out and between when game one will start tomorrow night. So I think you go to Kemper. He's the veteran. He hasn't really necessarily been in a Stanley Cup, but he's been in close playoff situation. He has been to the Western Conference Finals previously with the Coyotes, but he's been in big game situations. So I would go ahead and he's you invested in him, you traded for him in the offseason to get him here because you believe that he was one of those final missing puzzle pieces to get you to where you're at now.
Right. So my concern is with all these days off that he's had, if he stumbles and gives up 2 or 3 goals within the first period and a half, do you pull him?
No, I don't. Not in the first game.
Okay.
Just because of the circumstances. Every goalie's going to have a bad game no matter what. I'm sure at some point in this series, Andrei Vasilevsky is going to have a bad game. And the Avalanche are going to absolutely pepper him and win 6-3 or something. He's going to give up a lot of goals. At some point they will because, over the course of this playoffs, I believe it's either 23 or 24 goals that Andrei Vasilevsky has given up top shelf blocker side. Right. So there is a weak point with Andrei Vasilevsky. And I think the Avalanche being, using their time wisely, know that. And they're going to exploit that at some point in this series. They will. So that's kind of I don't think you bench him if game one he comes out and gives up 3 goals because it's just he's coming off of 15 almost 2.5 weeks worth of rest. Right. He's got to get back into the swing of things.
Right. Now, Tampa Bay is coming off of playing every other game, and they have momentum. Obviously, down 2-0 to the Rangers, they win 4 straight. Does that momentum, in my opinion, that momentum speaks volumes going into this series because the Avalanche haven't played in 8 days. So they have the momentum, they have the skating, they have the competition, they have the hits, they have game speed. Avalanche don't. That scares me going into game 1.
Well, the Avalanche certainly have speed on the offensive side of the puck with with Nathan MacKinnon and Alexander Newhook. They got some really top end premier skaters that can really penetrate the zone fairly quickly. Now, there is another little negative I'd like to exploit with the Lightning, and I don't know if you saw it, Bill, but towards the last 2 games of that series with New York, they were starting to indulge in some undisciplined hockey.
Yep.
Particularly fights and brawls, and that says one thing to me. If I'm an opposing team of these guys, you can get in their head. You can't get now. Did it affect the Tampa Bay Lightning to the point to where they were losing games? Not necessarily, but maybe we do see McDermott a little bit in this series. Maybe we do see him suit up and try to go out there and rattle the cages of one Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point.
Would you like to see Nathan MacKinnon scrapping around?
No, I don't want any of the top guys. If you're going to send your enforcers, you're going to send your enforcers like a McDermott or somebody who's on that 3rd or 4th line. I don't want I was absolutely against Gabriel Landeskog fighting with when he kind of broke his hand with 2 weeks to go in the season. I was completely against that. I don't care. Like, you cannot risk losing somebody to a terrible injury because of a fight.
But what if do you think if Tampa Bay starts throwing punches at Landeskog or at McKinnon, or let's say a Kadri is playing, do you feel that Colorado, those players, will retaliate? I hope not. Because if they do, that's what Tampa Bay wants. They want to take our scores out of the game.
History tells me no. The Avalanche have been rattled several times throughout the playoffs and have been, I can't tell you how many times the Blues went at Nazem Kadri and everybody else. And we saw it with the Oilers a little bit too, with Darnell Nurse and Evander Kane trying to provoke things and stir things up. And the Avalanche have been very calm and very, very consistent about how they respond to that. And that's pretty much not at all. I mean, like I said, you want to get in their heads. You don't want to hit their heads.
Right.
You want to show them that they're not phasing you, because the Lightning are going to test you in every aspect of the Stanley Cup. They know, and this is a very, very interesting matchup. I think this is the matchup that the NHL wanted. You're back-to-back 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions against the Stanley Cup favorite. The Avs have been the favorite since the beginning of the season to make it here. So I think this is a very intriguing matchup on a lot of different levels, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, since you mentioned favorite, I heard today the Avalanche are favored to win the Stanley Cup in 6 games or less. That kind of surprises me because Tampa Bay is back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. Why are the Avalanche favored? And because they are, why? What is the reason?
Because of their offensive firepower. Like I said, the Lightning have not faced an offensive powerhouse like the Avalanche. The Avalanche are head above shoulders above any team in the Eastern Conference as far as offense goes. They've been producing a lot of offense here in these playoffs. I mean, look at the 8-5 score. What was that one in St. Louis? Was it 7-2? That one game?
Yeah, 7-2.
Yeah, 7-2. The Avs have been putting up a lot of goals. They've been putting up at a minimum their lowest games. Their lowest games for goals, I think, was like 3. They haven't put up any less than 3. So, it's the offensive powerhouse. It's the fact that Nathan MacKinnon can come all the way from blue line to blue line in about 3 seconds and be in the zone. It's the fact that Cale Makar can dazzle his way around the blue line, walk it, and just snipe it, as well as Alexander Newhook and and Mikko Rantanen. Those guys have caught fire. Like I said, we were about, I think, at the end of that Blues series, and you're like, who needs to step it up? I said Mikko Rantanen needs to step it up. Nathan McKinnon needs to step it up, and they have,
Right.
and it's carried them all the way to the Stanley Cup. And so I expect that to continue to a certain level. It doesn't surprise me at all that the Avalanche are favorites. I think this, it doesn't surprise me that they're expected to win the series in 6 games or less.
Is it because of their record and they have home ice advantage, and that maybe not naysayers, but the bettors are saying, you know what, Tampa Bay's won it back to back. I don't think they can go for a three-peat. Is it because of like you mentioned, the Avalanche offense? But Tampa Bay has offense as well. So
absolutely.
I'm wondering why the big swing. To me, if you're back-to-back champions, you should be favored.
Yeah, you should be, but at the same time, home ice does serve an advantage in hockey. You have the last shift change in the game, and that could make a difference. We've seen several times since the NHL has implemented that, how much of a difference that actually really makes. It does make quite a bit of a difference having that last shift change. Also, you have to think about too, Bill, these last 2 seasons and the last 2 cups that the Tampa Bay Lightning have won have been either shortened or really non-competitive, non-competition. They had to face the Montreal
and no
Canadiens
fans, hardly any fans.
Yeah, they had to face the Montreal Canadiens last year, who basically got to the Stanley Cup because they had to play the Canadian division, which was like the weakest division out of any of the divisions that got split up into the little bubbles that they did. And then, the season before that was shortened and we were all in the bubble, so I'm not trying to discredit those Stanley Cup wins by any means necessary, but there's some existential factors there that really, this is the Lightning's first.
Now they're back to the big boys.
Yeah. This is the Lightning's first true test at a Stanley Cup. It really is, like, full season. I know the season this year stopped for 2 weeks straight in the middle of it, but like, this has been as close to a normal season as you could possibly get.
Right.
Since the pandemic happened. So, I mean, that's probably why they're favored. I mean, to be honest, and yeah, like it's all those other reasons we listed too. The offensive powerhouse that the Avalanche are, and having home ice, those play factors as well.
Who's the better goaltender?
The better goaltender is definitely Andrei Vasilevsky. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the guy is undefeated in closeout
Head
games.
And shoulders above Kemper?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You're still saying the Avalanche are favored?
Yeah, I do. Because Andrei Vasilevsky is undefeated in closeout games this playoffs. Every time there's been a closeout game, he can't be beat. But what has been exploited throughout this playoffs, and what the Rangers did a really good job of exploiting, was his weakness of his top shelf blocker high. When he comes out of that net, he loses all of his ability, and the Avalanche have precision shooters on their team, especially from the blue line, So
how,
that's where it comes into the advantage there.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but how do you get Vasilevsky out of the net?
You gotta go from the outside. You gotta come from the inside and go back out to the blue line to get him to come out. You gotta rush. You gotta attack the net hard too.
Is that an Avalanche advantage? Can they do that?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay. With Mikko Rantanen and Eric Johnson, and you got a lot of blue line snipers on that team. You do. Even Darren Helm and Josh Manson can crank it up every once in a while. They've been known to as well, and Bo and Byram. Oh my goodness, Cale Makar. Good Lord, you have a ton of blue line talent on that team, and even if you can't get it from the blue line, you got enough talent on the inside of that net to create a presence. So maybe catch Vasilevsky, slide in one side or the other of the crease to where you can just open up a whole side of the net and get the rebound.
Right. Okay. Here's the problem I have going into this series. Major problem. Avalanche have not scored on the power play. They need to create something, but Tampa Bay is deadly on the power play defense.
They are. We saw that.
How do we make it happen?
Yeah, we saw that in the Eastern Conference Final. Every time that the Rangers went to the penalty box, the Lightning made them pay for it.
Yep.
They really did. I mean, vice versa as well. I mean, the Rangers, their only highlight of their team was their power play. That,
True.
But yeah, in hockey, especially if you got a 5-on-3 situation, you should be able to walk away with a goal, especially if you're in the Stanley Cup Finals, man. I mean, Tampa Bay has one of the best penalty killing units in the whole entire National Hockey League. So did the Avalanche. It's pretty equal on the PK side. But as far as power play goes, I agree with you 100%. The Avalanche do need to get it going on the power play. I mean, you should be making them pay for every single mistake because the referees haven't been exactly calling every little ticky-tack penalty. So the minute you do catch them off guard, you need to make them pay for that mistake. You really do, and make it known, like, you got, if you're going to beat us, you got to play your best. You can't not capitalize on the power play this series. That's very crucial.
I totally agree. Okay, let's talk about game 1 tomorrow. Kemper, Vasilevsky, McKinnon, and I'm sorry, the name escapes me.
Nikita Kucherov.
Kucherov, yes. Who has the advantage in your mind? How I see it is this is going to come down to last second goal. Whether I mean, I don't mean last second meaning third period. I mean the last goal. It could be a second period. It could be a power play. It could be third period early. It could be third period late. It could be overtime. What do the Avalanche have to do to win this game? Followed by what does Tampa Bay have to do to win this game?
Well, the Avalanche, the most important thing for them is to come out behind the crowd at Ball Arena and get off to a fast start. They have to get off to a fast start. They got to play their brand of hockey, which is, very much a fast-paced, get you in between the changes type hockey. They need to play that hockey, and they need to show the Lightning that they're not going to be pushed around in their own building, because best believe the Lightning are not going to hold back in this series. They are not going to hold back for one single second. So they are going to be on their P's and Q's as well. So for the Lightning, it's very simple. Keep playing your brand of hockey. The Lightning kind of have a hybrid style of hockey, I've noticed, Bill. Like they have it's kind of like a smash them up against the boards, but also get out on the break and run them out. It's kind of a deadly combination. Yeah. But the Avalanche need to play up to that as well. They need to get physical. I'm not saying too physical, not getting into fights physical, but Darren Helm and Josh Manson, like they did last series against Edmonton, they need to get involved and stay involved on the hitting side. Because we saw what kind of a difference that made. And Eric Johnson too. He laid out some really, really great hits on the Edmonton Oilers. They need to stay involved and stay physical all game long, because they need to remind the Tampa Bay Lightning in every aspect that they possibly can. If you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us, multiple ways. And the depth has to be most important too, because like I said, you're out without Cogliano, you're without Kadri. Burakovsky's 100% now. So you got a lot of good guys on the back end. That's where a lot of your talent is, and a lot of your strength is right now, is on the back end, on the D line. So you need to capitalize on that and have your depth guys really, really make the difference. The Jack Johnsons, the Darren Helms, the Josh Mansons, the Alexander Newhooks, the Bo Byrams. Like those guys need to make a serious difference in game 1. I'm not saying they need to carry the team, but it needs to be a full team effort. All 4 lines need to be hitting on all cylinders.
Is Darcy Kemper going to be the Darcy Kemper we've seen all season? Or is that lag of him not being active in full competition going to hinder him in this game? Is he going to be equal up to the challenge? Because he's never been in this situation before.
Well, I certainly think he's going to prepare himself to be that way. Now, I don't know, because we the NHL is very, very, very shall I say
to the vest of that
about what's going on. Every practice from here on out has been closed. There's hardly any media access to it. they're extremely closed off as to what's going on. So I honestly don't know, Bill, but I know we'll find out within the first period to 2 periods of this game.
Mhm.
We will. Like we'll see how it is. I mean, and it's all going to depend on how the Avalanche D line does in front of him too. You can't let him get peppered. You can't coming out because it's just not going to fare well for him against this
Right.
Tampa Bay Lightning team. You
But
need to
that's what they did against the Rangers.
Yeah.
You can't have that happen. And Stamkos is playing out of his mind.
Yeah, Stamkos, all those guys are absolutely, but you got to hold up on the defensive side. You need to let him slowly get back into the swing of things. Have him take a game to where, your D line's really picking up the slack and not less. I mean, he needs to see less than 25 shots this game. He does. He needs to see less than that.
Is that possible?
It is possible. Yeah, it's very possible with the Avalanche.
Now the Avalanche during
because their D-core is their strength right now, and if they play up to their strengths, then I would 25 shots would be very doable.
The Avalanche this season played Tampa Bay, and they swept them 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean a whole lot. It's only 2 games.
Yeah,
taking that in consideration. Is that a positive thing moving forward, or does that give Tampa Bay motivation moving forward?
I think, especially in hockey, with as much of a routine and consistency sports it is, I think the players are just looking at the game in front of them. The mentality in a hockey room is we're 0-0 right now. We're trying to get to 1-0. I don't think the Avs or the Lightning, for that matter, are looking that far back deep into the season. I think they're looking definitely forward about holding that Stanley Cup, raising that Stanley Cup up. And I think their just focus is going to be on whatever game is afoot, whether that's game 1 and then game 1 gets over. Now they're focused on game 2. It's like I said, each game is its own entity. It's a different thing every time. So, with that being said, the focus only goes into that game as far as I'm concerned.
All right, wrapping up the last couple of comments here.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Gabriel Landeskog. Do you see Jared Bednar moving those lines around and those players around to get the best matchups possible, or does he switch during the game? Because I've seen him switch during the game in the last game against Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
He switched it up. So does he do that going into this game and maybe just cause a wrinkle into Tampa Bay's thinking?
I certainly do. He's had the track record this whole entire playoffs of switching up lines. You don't want the enemy to get too comfortable with what you're putting out on the ice, because then it becomes then the film's out on you. Right. And then it becomes a game of just figuring out patterns and tendencies, which isn't hard for any hockey team at that level to pick up on. True. And it only becomes a matter of moments before they choke you out completely and you're not even in reach of the game.
Right.
So, yeah, I do think so. There's been a lot of talk that Jared Bednar potentially wants to put Mikko Rantanen back as a second-line center to try and give him more experience. So we'll see how that works out. Bednar's not going to make a clear-cut, decision on what he's going to do exactly, because, like you said, you play close to the vest. You don't want to give away your strategy. So we'll certainly find out tomorrow night.
All right, we're going to wrap up this segment. And Jeremy, it's been a pleasure, like always. Got to get your take on game 1. Who scores first? It's a 3-part. Let me get this right. 3-part. Well, whatever. Yeah, that one. Thank you. 3-part. Who scores the first goal? Who is it? And who wins the game?
I think ultimately the Lightning will score first. It'll probably be either Stamkos or Kucherov.
Well, we've won every game when we've not scored first.
Yeah, I think it'll be Stamkos or Kucherov, because Stamkos has been on fire. Like, he scored, I think he almost had a hat trick the last game in that Eastern Conference Finals there. So he's been pretty on a roll there. And honestly, I would not be shocked to see the Lightning win tomorrow.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm shocked you said that.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, because I mean, we got to realize
that puts us in a hole.
Yeah, it does. But like I said, this is going to be the Avalanche are going to need to learn how to score in ugly ways against the Lightning. They're not going to have your pretty poster goals. Andre Vasilevsky is elite. Mm-hmm. He's head and shoulders above Darcy Kemper, in my opinion. Like, you're going to have to learn how to get some ugly goals, and we've seen throughout the course of this season and playoffs that when the Avs' backs are against the wall, it takes them a little bit to figure it out. It takes them to struggle a little bit to really get it, So I think that's going to be the toughest challenge for them this whole entire series, is trying to crack the code on Andre Vasilevsky and trying to figure out how they're going to score on him exactly. We all know top shelf blocker side, but at the same time, it's like you can't do that every time, because it's not, even though while it's like an 85% guarantee that you're going to get him, you're going to get a goal on him, you go top shelf blocker side, it's not 100%. And, if you looked at the last series with the Rangers too, they scored in different ways as well. It wasn't just top shelf blocker side every single time. I believe the last goal they scored was about, leg blocker pad side on his glove side. So they went in and they just caught him sliding to the other side of the net. That's what I'm saying. They're going to have to learn to really, it's not going to come to them as simple. They need a lot of puck movement. They need a ton of puck movement. They need to, find ways to penetrate in front of the net and penetrate the slot and find plays in the slot, quick plays. They need to be quick with their passes, and they need to be accurate with their passes as well if they're going to score on Andre Vasilevsky. It's going to take a full team effort,
right,
for the Avalanche to win the series.
Okay, wrapping this up. Last comment by you. Can the Avalanche win a close game, or do they have to win every game going away, given Tampa Bay's pedigree in the last 2 Stanley Cup championships? What do you say?
Yeah, I do. I think they can win a close game. Absolutely. I mean, we saw it in St. Louis, when we closed it out.
St. Louis.
Yeah, that was St. Louis, but at the same time, they gave us fits. Edmonton gave us fits. There, multiple times throughout this playoffs, the Colorado Avalanche have shown that if they need a goal, they can get a goal. They can get a goal. So this makes you have faith that we can win a close game and we can win the series.
Right.
I
say game 1, Avalanche win, very close game, 3-2. What do you say?
Yeah, I'd say, I'm still going to go with the Lightning, but yeah, I imagine a close score similar to that. But I think the Lightning do take game 1. I really do. I think.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong too. I'm not trying to purposefully be against the Avalanche. No, I just think I know. You were previously mentioning the Lightning, they have a lot of momentum rolling their way. They're the hotter team, but I mean, honestly, every single one of these games, Bill, it's almost to a coin flip. It really is, because both these teams, you look at both these teams and you go, well, this team has a strength here. Well, this team has a weakness here. And it's like that on both sides. And it's just kind of like when, 2 really terrible defensive teams meet up in football. It's like, who's going to screw up the most? It's not who's going to score the most points. It's who's going to screw up the most. I'm not saying they're bad defensive teams, but that's what it's going to come down to. The small things like turnovers and, in zone possession and winning your battles on the boards, winning your battles in front of the net. There's a reason why.
Well, fluke shots or off the
that's all puck luck, and you need some of that too. But there's a reason why all the small things by Blink-182 has been the Avalanche's playoff song and their anthem throughout this whole playoffs, is because in hockey, that's what matters. Yep. All the small things is what makes your team win a Stanley Cup. It's the difference maker. Winning your battles. Not turning the puck over in the neutral zone, getting out quick on your line changes, back checking, forechecking when you need to, really staying on your man, filling up lanes when you're going in transition. Those types of things really, really matter.
No, don't get off sides when the puck's right there.
Don't get off sides. Control the back door on your net. I mean, the
Mhm.
Avalanche tightened that up towards the end of last series, so I can't get on them as much about that because they really fixed that.
Mhm.
But and really be the pillow for Kemper there.
Mhm.
Don't sit there and play half defense when Tampa Bay's got the puck and really ratchet up the defense if they go on a power play.
Yep.
Don't
And
let them have the slot at all.
And they have to get down there passing. I've seen wide open guys streaking towards the blue line, and the pass is either behind them or too far in front.
It's in his skates and it goes off the boards. Yeah. I think
turns into a turnover. Yep.
Like
so we were hopefully saying. they've worked on that in these days off.
Yeah, because it's like I said, Bill, it's all the small things.
Yep.
All the small things.
Okay. I say series-wise, Avalanche win game 1, but it goes 7 games. Final thought on you.
I think it goes 6. I think the Avalanche win it in 6. I do.
Okay. So you're going to say they're going to win on the road?
Yeah, they very well
6
could.
is on the road.
Yeah, I mean, the Avalanche have been road dogs,
Yep.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Yep. All right, Jeremy, again, it's been a tremendous pleasure. I know we've ran a long time tonight, but it's okay because that's what we do.
It's a Stanley Cup.
It's a Stanley Cup. You got to talk about it. Jeremy, before we go.
One little tidbit, too.
Sure.
The Avalanche are 1-0 in winning Stanley Cups in the state of Florida. So there's that, too.
That's right. Absolutely. You got that right. Okay. As we head out, Jeremy, again, welcome to the MHRT Network. Please go ahead and plug your show as well as what you're going to do on MHRT, if you know.
Well, I'm just going to be doing videos and play-by-play for the Colorado Avalanche and the Denver Broncos. So you can catch me starting tomorrow night. I'll be on the MHRT network, YouTube here, doing play-by-play for the game, and also my YouTube channel as well, Case by Case Sports Show. There, I have a Twitter. You can follow me at Case by Case 21. My Instagram is kind of right now. I'm trying to revamp it. But it's also Case by Case Sports Show on Instagram as well. You can go follow me there. So that's where I'm at.
Jeremy, it's been a pleasure as always. Your insight is amazing. Your knowledge, I appreciate. Thanks once again for being part of Broncos Breakdown and the Avalanche update. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks again so much. And guys, please do not miss Jeremy's broadcast tomorrow night. He's amazing. He brings it. It'll be fun. He brings it like you're right there. I'm telling you guys, it's amazing. Before we go, Tuesday is the 5280 podcast, goes live 4, 5, 6, and 7 with Madungus Creevy, Glenn Hauser, Bree, Cam, and Boggins. Wednesday is the Wild Wild West. That features a fan from every AFC West team: Broncos, Raiders, Chargers, and Chiefs. That's live every 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, and 7:30. Thursday night is Nothing Rhymes Orange and Blue podcast. That features Johnny Bakke, his really good friend Isaiah Henderson. That's live every 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then Broncos Breakdown is posted and dropped at 11, 12, 1, and 2 every Friday at that same time, MHRT Network. Jeremy, thanks again. We will have you back next game. Let's do this. Let's just do this before
between games 1 and 2. Let's do it.
You got it. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Thanks for subscribing. We will talk to you next game. Bye-bye.
See ya.